This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 125. Vacationing in Florida with D.E.A.R.S, recorded live on Thursday, July 26, 2018. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Sean Wall, KV4WV, and Andy Maluzzi, KK4W. Or LWR, and he's becoming a regular on the show here. We've had him on for a couple of things, and he's going to be on again here before long. But I'm actually sitting here with them live tonight from Disney World, so we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. And last week on the show, the group from NASA on the Air was here to talk about what's happened so far with that and what's happening soon with that year-long event. So if you missed that, make sure you listen at hamtalklive.com or on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, SoundCloud, or we're even on YouTube. So all your Mouse World questions, well, get those ready to go after the interview. You can give us a call and ask your questions about the Disney emergency amateur radio service here at Walt Disney World. And the phone number that you'll call when it's time for that, now it's not time just yet, but the phone number you'll call is 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype us. We're Ham Talk Live on Skype. And you can also tweet a question to us. Our Twitter handle is @HamTalkLive. And as with all of our shows this summer, you'll have a chance to win if you call in tonight. So we'll talk about that a little later on. But I'll be back with Sean and Andy right after this from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, honey, have you seen the PL259s anywhere?
No, I haven't. Come on, kids. Let's go. There's just one place to go for all of your connector needs.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
A giant warehouse of connectors and adapters for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And they have antennas, soldering supplies, cables, meters, and more. Where do you go if you want to buy a connector at a fraction of retail cost?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 solder-type PL259s, get the 10th one for just 1 penny. They make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a PL259?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Hi, I'm Scott Cole, KB9AMM, president of Tower Electronics. I like the company so much that I bought it.
Tower Electronics, coming to a Hamfest near you, or online at pl-259.com. And we're in the yellow pages under Amateur Radio Connectors.
My, wherever did you get that lovely PL259?
Tower Electronics, pl-259.com, or call 920-435-2973.
Do we sell PL259 connectors?
Right now, you could be sitting on a beach, sipping a drink with an umbrella in it, and enjoying the good life. But instead, you've decided to listen to Ham Talk Live. So we thank you. And now here's Neil Rapp with more of the show.
Thanks to Scott and Jill, as always, at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight. Their Hamfest schedule coming up August 5th, Berryville, Virginia, August 11th, Huntington, West Virginia, and then August 18th and 19th at Huntsville, Alabama. But you can get a hold of them anytime at pl-259.com. Tonight, our guests are Sean Wall, KV4WV. He's the president of the Disney Emergency Amateur Radio Service, or D.E.A.R.S, as it's better known. He's an employee here at Disney World. He works in IT. He's been here for 3 years in web development and been a ham for 4 years. And he's been kind enough to join us tonight. And our good friend Andy Maluzzi, KK4LWR, is the past president of the Gator Amateur Radio Club at the University of Florida in Gainesville. He's currently a systems engineer for Walt Disney Parks and Resorts here in Florida. And Andy's a key leader in the ARRL Collegiate Amateur Radio Initiative, a group that's been formed to share ideas and promote and rejuvenate amateur radio clubs and colleges and universities in North America. And he's been with us before, and we'll be talking about a new collegiate QSO party coming up here soon. But Sean and Andy, thanks for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Neil. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Thanks for letting us join you tonight.
Yeah, so I'm on vacation, and so I didn't say anything about being on vacation, and I had planned on a show and didn't get a confirmation of everything, and so I was literally on the drive, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, we got to come up with a backup plan. So I get on Facebook Messenger and say, Andy, hey, if I can work this out, can we do a show on D.E.A.R.S on Thursday night? And he's like, oh yeah, we can do that. So they were kind enough to come out here to the Ham Shack, which is actually behind one of the fire stations here at Walt Disney World Resort, and open up the shack and get on the air a little bit beforehand and allow me to come in and host the show and talk a little bit about it. So we're talking a little bit about vacations and what you can do with ham radio on vacations. And on the drive down here, I was making satellite contacts on AO 91 and 92 and did some of that. And I'd hoped to do that from the hotel room, but I've been running around everywhere and haven't had a chance. So here at the WD4WDW Ham Shack, we've got some rigs set up here. We've got a nice hex beam up here that I've seen. So, Sean, why don't you tell us about D.E.A.R.S and its role here at Disney World?
Okay, yeah, sure thing. So basically, Neil, the Disney Group, D.E.A.R.S, has been around since 1996. A ham by the name of Randy Hansen, Whiskey for Alpha Tango Foxtrot. And at that time, 6 other members got together and they created D.E.A.R.S here at the Walt Disney World Resort. This was actually after the D.E.A.R.S group was founded in the Los Angeles area at the Disney offices there in out California. They started in 1990. So the D.E.A.R.S group here in Walt Disney World, they had their first field day in June. And they operated a special event station in the Magic Kingdom during the 25th anniversary there. What happened was that we had a very good relationship with the Disney security folks, and that we were added to the company's emergency operating plan as a resource of last resort. They were able to provide us with some facilities, with some funds for equipment, and that relationship actually still exists to this day. We had our original equipment was set up over by the solid waste management building. It has been moved around quite a bit since then. Our first repeater antenna was moved from that to actually the top of the Contemporary Hotel near the Magic Kingdom, and which of course gave us much better coverage from up there. Unfortunately, the management at the hotel did not like the looks of our equipment up there, so we actually ended up replacing the equipment, the antenna, with a better looking antenna, and it stayed up there for quite a while. In 1999, we were giving a operating position within the Emergency Operating Center here at Disney, and we had equipment set up there at the EOC. One of the things that the club participated in was during the Y2K event, we had about 20 volunteers stationed around the property with HTs, and we were just there to make sure if anything did actually happen, not that we were thinking anything was going to happen, but if it did, we had hams stationed around the property to be able to report it back in to the EOC. What happened was later that year, in fact, in 2000, as often happens in these industries, we had a large company turnover, and the gentleman in the Disney security, he left the company, and at that point, we did not have anyone in the security organization who was sort of our backer. Due to that fact, we stopped doing kind of like on-property events so much, just because we didn't have the upper management support. These days, we do a lot of community events. We participate and provide communications for bike rides, for the Cancer Walk every year here, events like that. We would like to get back to do more on-property events. We'd love to run a special event station during certain Disney events. We're working on that. So hopefully in the not-too-near future, you will be able to hear us broadcasting from actually inside one of the parks. That's something that we really want to do. The only other thing I wanted to say was that, so these days, our equipment is no longer at the Contemporary. So if you try to look up there on the roof, you're not going to see any antennas. We now have our main repeater is on top of a 300-foot tower over at one of our distribution centers, which is just north of the Magic Kingdom. So if you do come here, you'll get pretty good coverage over most of the properties here. Maybe some of the outlying ones like Animal Kingdom, you may not get a great signal, but you should be able to reach the repeater from pretty much anywhere in the Walt Disney World Resort. So, as of today, we have about a little over 100 members in D.E.A.R.S. We're always looking to expand, and so I guess that's a little rundown of who we are and what we're doing these days.
You mentioned some of the antennas and things that are up and the repeaters, and you've actually got several repeaters, some on 2 meters, some on 440, some are linked in to where people can actually access those from wherever, but then they can also access these, as you said, right here on Disney World property. So why don't you run down the repeaters and tones and the capabilities of those for us, so that way we've got an idea of what's available to people who are visiting here.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So we basically operate 3 primary repeaters here on property. We have our analog repeater, which is on 147.3 megahertz with a PL tone of 103.5. That's our main analog FM. We also operate a D.E.A.R.S repeater on 444 megahertz with a PL tone of 103.5. And we also operate a DMR repeater here, which is at 442, I believe. 444 even. Oh, 444 even. Okay, sorry. Plus 5. Yes, so that's our DMR repeater. That's our most recent installation here, in fact. So those are the 3 that we primarily operate here. I believe we do have another repeater out by Animal Kingdom, and I think it's slaved to the main analog repeater to help expand coverage out. I don't remember the frequency off the top of my head, but if you look in one of the repeater guides, you should be able to see it there. In addition to that, our analog repeater is also linked to the ABC affiliate up in New York. That club there is called D.E.A.R.S. That's the Broadcasters Emergency Amateur Radio Service. They're kind of our sister club. And so if you tune into our repeater, the 147.3 machine here in Orlando, you could very well be hearing people up in the New York City, Long Island area checking in, and that's due to this, what we call the D.E.A.R.S network, or Disney Amateur Radio Interconnect. So, and also, finally, our FM repeater is also on Echolink. Not sure, I don't remember the... 632 802. That's the node number. So if you want to check in on there, you're welcome to do so. Our repeaters are open to the public. They're open to guests of the parks. So, yeah, the equipment's there, and we encourage people to use it.
Okay, now another thing that we talked about is, people can get in here on Echolink or with some of the technology on the repeaters, but you have this HF station over here, and Andy was just on a little bit ago. So you can get on here and talk to them and get a QSL card. So, Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the HF setup here, and then if somebody wants to come visit the station, now we kind of did this all ahead of time, so I don't know if you're always prepared for visitors or not. So tell people about if you're able to visit the station. Would it be possible to do that? If so, how would they go about doing that, or is that just not really feasible right now?
So I guess we'll first talk about the station itself, and then I'll answer those questions. So we have a hex beam here up at about 80 or so feet above our shack. We're behind a fire station, I believe it's number 4, Reedy Creek Fire Station number 4, which is located by Disney Springs. So if you hop on Google Earth, you can actually see the fire station quite clearly. We're one of the little buildings behind it. And we're running here just a Kenwood TS570D into our hex beam, so just 100 watts barefoot. We got rotor on it. Our hex beam will do 10 through 80 meters, so it's quite nice for us to work here. As far as coming over to the station, we haven't had many visitors, but we have had a few guests join us. On field day, we had a few guests come over who were just staying on property and knew that the club existed, and they wandered over because we did publish it on our website. So usually that's the best way to come visit our station. But you can totally come and visit our club meetings, though. We do the second Wednesday of every month, and currently it's at the All-Star Cast Resources building, but that may change and that may move around property as availability works. But that gets posted on our website, wd4wdw.org, and that's a great place to go. And we have guests from all over the world come and join us at our meetings, which is really quite fantastic to get to say hi to people and hear all sorts of different amateur radio experiences in one location. It's great for me, so I don't have to travel all over to get those stories. So that's the best way for guests to get involved, and obviously making contacts with us when we're on the air. I will probably be operating here more and more and more as my schedule permits. I know I'll be doing the QSO party from here that we mentioned earlier, so we'll definitely be on the air. But it's a quite nice station, and it's kind of underutilized, but that's changing pretty quickly, though. We're getting a pretty good active group of hams here.
Very good, Andy, and you mentioned the website there. We wanted to make sure that we give that out so that way you could find all the repeater frequencies and PL tones and all that kind of thing. And Sean's got something else here to throw in on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Andy mentioned. In addition to our monthly meetings, we also hold a monthly net, which is going to be the 4th Wednesday of each month, and that's on our analog FM, the 147.3 machine. If you're not in the Orlando area, again, you can join us via Echolink, and we welcome everyone to come and join us on our monthly net. We call it the Fun Net. We have our one of our club members, Bruce Keller, K4BAK. He's our netmaster, and he's a great guy, lots of fun. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that as well.
All right, very good. And we'll mention that if you heard some pops in the background a little bit ago, that was actually the fireworks going off at the parks. We heard some pops here, and Andy slipped me a note and said, "Hey, that's the fireworks going off at the parks," because it was getting about closing time for a few of those. So if you heard that, that's what it was. We're really right here in the middle of everything at Walt Disney World. Well, there's several other things, of course, that you can do with ham radio here in Florida, and I know Val in V9L has done some things on Ham Nation and mentioned them again on this show about cruise ships and which cruise ships you can operate on and which ones don't allow it, and some of them you have to check, and so always make sure you check that out before you go, because you may not be able to operate. But last week here on the show, we were talking about NASA on the air, and Kevin Zeri over at Kennedy Space Center was not on the show to answer the question, and somebody asked, hey, can I go to the ham shack at Kennedy Space Center? I was down there visiting. Can I get in there to see that? Well, I have the answer, and the short answer is no, you can't. The ham shack is actually in one of the lab buildings. Kevin was telling me it's actually one of the very first buildings that was put up there when they built the Space Center, and you have to have NASA credentials to get in there. So unless you have NASA credentials, you're not going to be able to visit. You can go down, to the visitor center and all that kind of thing, but the ham station isn't there. It's behind the gate, and so you'll have to get credentials in order to do that, and that's just not ordinarily possible. I won't say that it's totally impossible because I did it, and so now I'll probably get in trouble because, that Neil Rapp guy, he got to go. Why can't I go? Well, we had some technical meetings on a few things for the station there, and so we were able to work that out. But it wasn't easy, even though we had some things to discuss and put together for the shack there. But was grateful that Kevin was able to arrange a meeting with a couple of their club members while I was there and get on and work a pile up for a little bit and have some fun with it here while I'm on vacation. So unfortunately, at Kennedy Space Center, at least, the answer is no, you can't. And thought we'd throw that out there, but Kevin's done a great job with the station over there, and those guys they've put together a real nice facility, and they are on the air quite a bit. And I know they're getting ready to upgrade some of their satellite stuff. That was some of the stuff we were talking about, upgrading some of their satellite capabilities and. Maybe trying to do some telebridge stuff at some point. So we'll see how that progresses. But they've got a nice setup, and I want to thank them for hosting me for an hour or two the other day. And yeah, sorry, but not everybody's going to get to do that. Well, we're going to take a break, and when I come back, we'll take your questions and your calls with Sean and Andy right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Heard it? Worked it? Logged it. It's time to get the transceiver that is best suited for your lifestyle. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. See how you can make the most out of contest season with one of these transceivers. First, the IC7851. It's the competitive edge you've been looking for. Raise the bar and hear what others cannot with this flagship HF and 50 megahertz transceiver that has reciprocal mixing dynamic range, crystal clear LO design, spectrum scope, dual receivers, and digital voice recorder. The one I've been drooling over lately, the IC7610. It's the SDR every ham wants, and just in time for contest season. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals, even in the presence of stronger adjacent ones. The new ICOM IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. It has RF direct sampling system, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receiver, and dual digit select. The reason I've been drooling over the IC7610 is the performance I've seen at work with our IC7300. It's changing the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large touch screen, a real-time spectrum scope, and an SD card slot. It's all in the IC7300. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
Oh, yeah. You're talking ham radio, baby. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Ham Talk Live is on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And as with all of our shows this summer, we'll have a call of the day. Today's call of the day will win an autographed Heil Ham Radio Handbook, 2nd edition. That's courtesy of Heil Sound, and all you have to do is call in, and we'll pick a random caller at the end of the show. So make sure you do that. Well, it is time for your call. So if you have a question for D.E.A.R.S, give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now is the time to call 812-638-4261. You can also call on Skype if you like that. We're Ham Talk Live on Skype, or you can tweet us at Ham Talk Live. And look forward to hearing from some of you. Now, Andy, I had something that I wanted to ask too. Again, we're talking about vacationing in Florida and operating some radio while you're here. That salt water on the beaches is great for doing some operating, and you've got a lot of flat land and low elevation. So, how do you notice the propagation being different here than it was up in Ohio and Indiana, where you're from and where you've been going to school? How do you notice it being better down here for people who are trying to operate on the beach or from their hotel or wherever?
So salt water makes a great ground plane. So, I mean, that's always helpful. And the fact that Florida is the flattest state in the union means that you can pretty much stick a relatively low tower up there and work some pretty impressive DX. When I was up at UF, it was really nice because we were on top of a building, and we were like the tallest object for miles. And even though here we're only at 80 feet, we're above the trees by and large, and there's not much tall around us. There's not much shade. There's the skyscrapers of Orlando, but that's about it. So we get a really nice low takeoff angle. Actually, you can hear some fireworks in the background there. It's Epcot going right now. It's really quite nice to be able to sit down here and, pretty much work wherever without requiring a ridiculously tall tower and a beam. I've had success myself just working, from a hamstick on top of my car or a small vertical, thrown up into a tree while I'm hiking. So it's really quite different. At my parents' house up in Ohio, my brother and I put in a antenna there, and there's definitely some dead spots, and it's not quite as strong. It's a vertical, so not the best antenna, but not quite the same as down here. So that's a lot of fun being able to be down here and just sort of throw up. We don't have as many trees down here, which kind of makes it harder, but if you can figure out a way to get it up in the air, you got a pretty good signal going out.
Well, that's some cool stuff, and I've seen some tripods for beaches. You can put the flat tripods down and try to get use of some of that salt water. And I haven't tried that one yet, but maybe we'll do that. Well, speaking of unexpected things like fireworks going off in the middle of the show, when we got here, Sean, we had a little surprise out here in the parking lot, and yes, it happens in Florida a lot, but it happened right under the D.E.A.R.S communication vehicle. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, welcome to Florida. So when I arrived here at the shack before the show, as I pulled up, I noticed that the front of our van was lower than the rear, and I'm pretty sure that we didn't put a lift kit in the van. So I walked around the van and found out that the front of our Ecom van was sunk down into a sinkhole of probably about 6 feet from the door of the shack. Not sure, they do sometimes just pop up here, especially with the heavy rains that we get. And so that was a bit of a surprise, as Andy mentioned, a uniquely Florida surprise here. That was an interesting little thing. I'm like, well, we're just going to have to get this towed out. I briefly considered trying to drive it out, and then I realized that the chassis was actually laying on the ground in the front, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. So, Oh, well, it happens.
Oh boy! Well, yeah, that was something. We just saw this big hole right underneath, and the bumper laying up on the railroad tie. Yeah, there for the parking marker. But yeah, I hope things get worked out there, and we may talk about the van here in just a little bit. Carl, KD9HQT, does have a question, though. He wants to know if there was any involvement with the ham station or the repeaters with weather, and especially Hurricane Irma, if there was any connection and assistance provided by you all.
So hurricanes are also another sort of, I wouldn't say uniquely Florida, but definitely a Floridian thing. Unfortunately, we're built to withstand them. So the Walt Disney World Resort never actually lost power during Irma. We did batten down the hatches. We closed the parks, which is a big deal, to shut down our parks for safety, of course. But we hadn't done that in about 10 years prior. It was a big deal. But we did not actually need to activate or do anything for that. I know I lost power for 38 hours. I live about 10 miles south of Disney property, and I lost power for 38 hours, but I actually had my portable rig that I take when I go hiking. So I just got out my solar panel and my deep cycle battery, and I was back on the air. But in addition to the regular sort of IT infrastructure that you would expect on the Disney property, Disney also runs a very expansive DMR network for radio communication, and that's all on emergency power as well. As Sean said before, amateur radio is recognized as a last resort emergency communication on resort property, and there are significant list of items that need to happen before they get to us. Disney tries to make sure that, regardless of when you come down to the property, to any Disney property, that safety is not something a guest needs to worry about. We worry about that for you, from taking care of our attractions to your safety due to weather here on property. Fortunately in this case, we had to close some parks. The monorails didn't run, the buses didn't run, but guests were safe in their resorts, and, communications never went down, and no one was ever in any trouble.
Okay, now you said the word monorail. So, Andy, you've got this great idea for how to get ham radio inside of Disney World. But let the world know.
Yeah, so you are totally allowed to bring your HTs to the park and use them. We've actually worked with security to make sure that they know what an amateur radio HT looks like. And that means that you can do something uniquely Disney. You can be monorail mobile and check into our repeater. One of the few places in the world that has a relatively expansive monorail system. And if you decide to, power up your HT while in the cars of the monorail trains, you can totally hit the repeater and you can operate monorail mobile, which is, I think, probably the coolest thing I've ever done here on property. There's a lot of really, nifty experiences, but getting to do that. And when someone, hears you say, "Oh, your call sign stroke monorail mobile," they go, "Huh?" And it's a nice little way to say, "Yeah, I'm at Disney World."
Yeah, and just to add on to what Andy was mentioning about bringing HTs into the parks. So we actually, we get asked that a lot, honestly. And as Andy said, yes, you can bring an HT into the park. As he said, we have recently provided Disney security with photos and descriptions of what they are and about our repeaters. So Disney security should be well-versed in what the equipment is. A couple of guidelines. We do recommend that you bring probably a copy of your license. Would not be a bad idea. Also, security has also asked us to mention that if you bring it, please use a short antenna. Like they want us to use a rubber duck. I know I've got a better, higher gain, longer antenna on my HT, but for some reason, I'm sure they have good reasons, they actually prefer us to tell people to bring these short rubber antennas when you come to the park, and you should be able to get in.
All right, very good. And I had the Baofeng button on standby here in case he said you could bring your Baofeng, but we didn't hit the button here. But Sean, one other thing that I thought of as I was listening to the repeater a little bit driving around today is, can we get a repeater ID with Mickey Mouse on it? Can we do that?
Oh, man, wouldn't that be great? That's an excellent idea. We'll have to talk to Mickey. I don't know if you've ever actually... has ever been asked to do that for us. We do have our QSL card is pretty uniquely Disney. We're fortunate that as D.E.A.R.S as an officially sanctioned Disney club, we do have access to Disney, properties, pictures, and things like that. But yeah, it would be awesome if we could get Mickey to do one of our announcements here. Things we'll have to ask him.
So 812-638-4261 is the phone number to call if you have a question for the Disney Emergency Amateur Radio Service team here tonight, which was kind enough to host me for the show here tonight. We're just hanging out in the Ham Shack, and we'd love to hear from you or tweet us at hamtalklive. So something we were talking about before the show is how many Mickey Mouses, Mickey Mice, Mickey Mises, how many Mickeys are there in the park?
One. There's only one Mickey Mouse.
There's only one. So
Very busy.
Yeah, he's a very busy guy, and we gotta get him to record an ID for you. So that'd be great. 812-638-4261 is the phone number. We're just a few minutes away from the end of the show, but we'd love to hear from you if you have something to ask or a comment here. Give us a call, 812-638-4261, or you can send in a tweet or comment here on Spreaker. We were on the air a little bit on 20 meters before the show, and a lot of interesting Disney stories. But everybody was wanting a QSL card, and we're excited to hear the park. And I just had an idea here. We've got the Walmart parking lots on the air, and we've got the pubs on the air, and the NASA on the air, and mines on the air, and we're going to be doing craters on the air soon, and some stuff. What about Disney parks? Do you think there's any possibility of getting Disneyland and Tokyo and Euro and maybe do a special event?
So I think DEPOTA should totally be a thing, but there's a few hurdles to get through. The other one I've also thought is Florida has no summits on the air, if you're familiar with that. But we do have a few mountains here at Walt Disney World. So, maybe we can get, Space Mountain recognized, or, Big Thunder Mountain, or Expedition Everest recognized as mountains, and have summits, and see if we can make that happen too. It's one of those things where, Disney is a big company, and obviously providing an excellent guest experience comes first. So something like that, while it'd be fun, it definitely takes a little bit more planning to make sure that we don't impact operations, and that we do it in a very, very safe way. At Disney, we're taught that we have 4 keys, and the first key is always safety. So doing either a parks on the air or something like that, we need to make sure that whatever setup we do would need to be structurally sound and safe, not just for us but for our guests as well that join us in the parks. So while that is a great idea, there's quite a bit of planning, and I would love to make it happen. I get to travel a fair bit with my job, but I can totally do it with my HT, but yeah, we'll see if we can make that happen a little long term. I know we have operated in the parks before. I think Sean can go into that a little more.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, during some of the club's history, we did in fact operate from Magic Kingdom during the 25th anniversary there. And I can tell you that doing events, special events from the parks, is definitely on our to-do list. As Andy mentioned, there's quite a few hoops we have to go through. And but yeah, it's definitely high on our we really want to do this list to get back into that. So hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll be able to operate from one of the parks here.
Now, I had another question for you, and I'm going to ask Sean, since he's been around a little bit longer. There were some rumors going around about antennas on Space Mountain. Was the repeater ever located there at one point?
Not that I'm aware of. Antennas on Space Mountain. I can't say that I can't say for a certainty that hasn't been the case. But as far as I know, the only antennas that we've had actually physically in the parks have been on the Contemporary Resort, where we had our repeater. And then, but as of now, they're not. They're actually over at one of our distribution centers on top of the 300-foot tower. But yeah, no, I had not heard that before. But I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. That Disney's a big. Walt Disney World is a big resort. Lots of people here. There could be some sort of secret Mickey experiment going on that I don't know about. So we'll have to see.
Well, there are several antennas up there, I will say that. N1TYH says good info regarding bringing the HT to Disney. So thanks for that, and thanks, Stephen, for listening and tweeting into us tonight. Well, we're going to finish up here shortly, but want to thank you all for having me in here, and it's been a good experience, and glad to show off some of the things that you all are working hard on here at Disney World, and look forward to maybe being back here before too long. And it's always a challenge to get away from the classroom for long enough, but enjoy getting down here, and so want to say thank you for that. And Andy, we'll be talking to you about the Collegiate QSO party coming up soon. So any final comments?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming down, Neil. It's unusual for us to talk this much in a year, in person. Like, we usually see each other at Dayton. That's about it. So it's nice to see you an extra time and get to come down here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to us chatting in about a month for the Collegiate QSO party. It's probably the first time it's really been even mentioned outside of the Facebook group. So watch your national contest journals and your QSTs coming out here in September for more details on that with rules and all that. And we actually have some stuff posted on the GatorRadio.org website. UF is hosting some of those details, and that'll be out in those issues as well. And I will be operating that contest right here from D.E.A.R.S. So I will be on the air as Disney World, getting to talk to some of my favorite schools and hopefully my alma maters, and making some contacts. So looking forward to that, and always looking forward to getting on the radio. There's seems to be always a good excuse to get over here, so have some fun. So thanks again, Neil.
All right, thanks, Andy, and we'll be looking for that. And you got my plug in there for the National Contest Journal. Andy's going to be the guest author of the article on that coming up in the September issue. So make sure you check that out. And Sean, same for you. Any final words before we go?
Just a second what Andy said. Wanted to thank you, Neil, for having us on your show. It was great having you here. It's been a lot of fun. And just to remind folks, again, if you go to our website, wd4wdw.org, we post about our monthly meeting. So if you're going to be here at the resort around the second Wednesday of the month, you're more than welcome to attend our monthly meeting. They're typically held at 6 p.m. At the All-Star Resort area. And again, our monthly nets are the fourth Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m., and that's going to be on our 147.3 machine and also on Echolink. So if you care to join in, we more than welcome you for that, too.
All right, very good. Well, it's time for the call of the day, and today's winner will receive an autographed Heil Ham Radio Handbook, second edition, courtesy of Heil Sound, and that goes to Carl, KD9HQT. So, Carl, we'll get that handbook off to you, and thanks for chiming in on the show tonight, and we hope that others will do the same. But that is a wrap for this week's Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Sean and Andy for being here from D.E.A.R.S, and everybody out there in cyberspace for chiming in online tonight. And we'll invite you back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark Brown, in for BCD, will be here to preview the Huntsville Ham Fest, which is coming up August 18th and 19th. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure to visit hamtalklive.com. And if you like Ham Talk Live, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. It helps others find us faster. And so for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375. May the good DX be yours, and have a magical evening.